Welcome, everyone, to Starlit Stories. Tonight, we are honored to present a story titled The Handprint in the Rental Room, The Midnight Lament. Now, allow us to begin. The loud honking of a truck echoing from the opposite side of the street made Madame Bide jump. She was making coffee for a customer and looked up, startled to see a group of workers appearing behind the truck bed. They were carrying and transporting construction materials, paint buckets, brushes, and large rolls of wallpaper. "Oh, what are those people doing?" Madame Bai wondered aloud. A neighbor sitting nearby drinking water immediately said, "Don't you know? Mr. Hung's family is about to reopen the boarding house for rent." "He's renting it out again?" "Yes, that's right." "But didn't the couple quit that business?" "I don't know the specifics of why now, but the day before yesterday I went to the market and met Mrs. Lan, Mr. Hung's wife. She was buying fruit, votive papers, and a boiled rooster. Out of curiosity, I asked what she was worshiping, and she said she was bringing those things home to make an offering to reopen the boarding house row." "Well, whatever anyone says, it's been over 3 years. Besides, their son Tuan graduated from university but hasn't had a stable job. He's been wandering around the city, jumping between 3 or 4 companies in a year. They were afraid he'd fall in with a bad crowd if he stayed there doing nothing, so the couple discussed reopening the boarding house for Tuan to manage. Plus, with the 2 or 3 factories around here recruiting more workers every month, there isn't enough housing for people coming from other places. I think opening it again is reasonable. It's been abandoned for years. Even as an outsider, I feel it's a waste. You do business here and more tenants come, you'll benefit from them coming over for water and coffee every day." Madame Bai sighed and nodded. "I know that, but for me, the incident 3 years ago still haunts me to this day." "Oh, forget it. What's there to be haunted about? If people can live there, good. If not, they'll leave. Simple as that." The conversation was temporarily interrupted as the neighbor had to take a phone call, while Madame Bai squinted her eyes looking towards the row of houses opposite. The 3-year timeline she and the neighbor mentioned marked a horrific tragedy. It was the final days of 2022. That morning, Madame Bai woke up early as usual to sweep and open her coffee shop. While she was struggling with the bunch of keys, half awake, she heard a screaming voice echoing from Mr. Hung's boarding house opposite. Being a retired official, she recognized the scream belonging to Mrs. Lan. Very quickly, neighbors and curious passers-by gathered. Mrs. Lan was still in a panic, pointing her finger towards the room at the end of the row. "Someone died! Someone died!" Heavens! A few brave men stepped in to check, but no matter how strong they were, everyone turned pale when seeing the scene inside. Right in the middle of the floor, a young girl lay dead in a pool of blood. Her clothes were disheveled. The victim was identified as Lei T. Mai, 25, a secondary school teacher in the town. Her home was nearly 100 kilometers away, so she chose to stay in a boarding house. There were a total of 13 stab wounds on her body, all in vital areas. The brutality of the attack truly sent chills down the spine of anyone who witnessed or even heard about it. The police extracted footage from the camera in the parking area and the gate of the boarding house and identified the suspect as a middle-aged man named Phuc. This man had no stable job, was a drug addict who frequently caused disorder, and had been to the police station many times. Around 2 a.m., the camera recorded images of Phuc at the entrance. Then he walked past the garage and went straight into the boarding row. About an hour later, Phuc came out the same way. Of course, he was not a tenant. The gate was usually checked and closed by Mr. Hung or Mrs. Lan, but that day Mr. Hung had business outside, and Mrs. Lan had a drop in blood pressure, so she was resting in her room. Above all, the crime scene investigation noted a cigarette butt suspected to be left by the perpetrator. A manhunt was quickly launched. By the evening of the same day, they found Phuc, but he showed no signs of life. The cause of death was a drug overdose. Through forensic measures, it was concluded that Phuc was the culprit. Even the cigarette butt had traces of Phuc's fingerprints and saliva. Now that he was dead and could not testify, people could only hypothesize that Phuc, desperate for money for drugs, saw the unlocked gate. Initially, he intended to steal a motorbike, but after walking around, seeing Mai still awake preparing lesson plans, he tricked her into opening the door and rushed in. It was also unfortunate that at that time, the tenants next door had returned to their hometowns or were busy, so no one detected it in time to stop it. The tragedy ended. Mr. Hung helped Mai's family with the funeral arrangements, hearing that her family was poor and her father had a stroke. He also locked that room permanently and invited monks to chant prayers for her soul. But no matter what he did, the number of tenants dwindled. It didn't stop there. Rumors spread that Mai's soul could not move on and lingered in the room to scare people, specifically on the glass window of her room. One morning, people discovered a clearly printed handprint. What was more frightening was that the handprint was pressed from the inside of the room. On hearing the news, Mr. Hung immediately opened the door and wiped it clean. But no matter how much he cleaned, the next day the handprint appeared again. More and more malicious rumors spread, and similar boarding house models opened nearby, so no one dared to rent from him anymore. Seeing it was empty and the couple planned to move to the city, Mr. Hung closed the business. At one point, he even hung a house for sale sign, but perhaps because people knew the spiritual stories, no one dared to buy it. Now, after 3 years, the row was being used for rent again. As for Madame Bai, she had goodwill towards Mr. Hung's couple, but she feared the rumors would kindle and flare up once more. Speak of the devil, Mrs. Lan walked out from the house opposite and entered the refreshment shop, sitting down. "Sister Bai, get me a glass of orange juice. The sun is so hot, my throat is parched." "Coming right up." A moment later, placing the orange juice on the table and seeing no other customers to serve, Madame Bai pulled up a chair and sat next to her, asking in a whisper, "Hey, Mrs. Lan, I hear everyone whispering that you are about to rent the place out again." Yes. Is it okay? I'm afraid." As if understanding the other's hesitation, Mrs. Lan smiled. "It's fine, sister. My husband and I thought about it. If we don't open it now, something will happen sooner or later anyway. You know our son Tuan. For the past 3 years, we moved to the city to live with him. He graduated with a good degree, but when he went on probation at companies, they prioritized money, bribery, and relationships over ability, so it was hard for him to find a place. The more time passed, the more depressed he felt, and he started hanging out with bad friends. So we decided to call him back to the countryside to manage the boarding house. I have more than 10 rooms for rent. Minus fixed monthly costs, we can collect a decent amount." "What about that matter?" "Last week, my husband and I slept there for a few nights, and nothing strange happened. Besides, that room is locked tight and used as a storage room. We aren't renting it to anyone. It should be fine."
Madame Bite nodded. "If so, then there really is no other way. By the way, Sister Bite, I want to ask you a favor. If any tenants come to drink coffee and ask about spiritual stories or rumors, please tell them you don't know, okay? I'm afraid that after investing in painting, repairs, and installing air conditioners, if someone jealous spreads rumors to sabotage us, we'll have to sell the house to pay the debt." "Don't worry about this. I'm not a gossip or malicious person. I'm a business person too." "I'm very glad to hear you say that. Thank you very much." To make the atmosphere more comfortable, Madame Bite changed the subject. "Mrs. Lan, since Tuan is coming back to start a career, haven't you thought about finding him a wife? He's not young anymore. He might be playful now, but maybe getting a wife will make him care for his family." "I thought about this too, but every time I mention it, he shakes his head and ignores it. My husband and I are even afraid he doesn't like girls, sister." "Heavens, if that's the case, it's not good. He's the only child in the family, isn't he? Not only that, he is the eldest grandson of the whole clan. Sometimes I light incense and pray to the ancestors, asking if Tuan has deviant thoughts, please guide him to the right path. If he brings home a man later and claims to be in love, I might die of a heart attack." "No way. I see Tuan is handsome and masculine. Surely he doesn't like men. Just listen to me or leave it to me. I know many people. If I see a suitable match, I will introduce him." "If you can do that, it would be great. Thank you." "Rest assured, leave the matchmaking to me. I have a good hand for it. Do you remember, too, near the market? She had one husband already, but through my matchmaking, she not only remarried, but her second husband was a bachelor from a wealthy family. At the beginning of this year, the couple moved to the city, and occasionally when they return, they visit to give me gifts. I know that story, but I don't expect Twun to marry into a rich family. As long as she is sincere, honest, hardworking, and can manage the family, that's good enough." Just as she had finished speaking, Mrs. Lan was startled to hear her husband's familiar call. "Hey, wife!" Mr. Hung stood with his hands on his hips next to the truck. Mrs. Lan hurriedly raised her hand and replied, "I'm here, drinking a glass of orange juice. What's the matter?" "Come in and see if the workers installed the air conditioner correctly. They have to chisel the wall to pull the pipe in, so if they miss an inch, it ruins a mile." "I'm coming right now. Sister Bite, I'll send the money for the water later." "What money? It's urgent. Go take care of your business. We'll settle it next time you drink." "Yes, thank you." Saying that, Mrs. Lan stepped out of the refreshment shop. Looking at her back, Madam Bite clicked her tongue. "Well, let's pray for everything to go smoothly. Just because of that disaster falling from the sky, the couple have been troubled for the past 3 years." Time passed like that. After more than a week of painting, repairing, installing electricity and essential furniture, Mr. Hung's boarding house officially opened. Because they had already made offerings before, today the couple only held a small party inviting neighbors to join in the fun. Of course, Madam Bite was present. Most noticeably at the party was Mrs. Tom, a cousin of Mr. Hung. Mrs. Tom was also running a boarding house for workers. Actually, Mrs. Tom didn't open her boarding house from the start. Only after Mr. Hung closed his did she buy land and build a scale of nearly 20 rooms. In general, she did very well and stable, even buying a car within 2 years. But contrary to her cousin, Mrs. Tom was quite stingy and mean. Her tenants were not allowed to be even 1 day late on rent. On the exact day, she would show up at their door during lunch or dinner and shout, forcing them to pay. There was even a case where Mrs. Tom evicted a tenant just for being 5 days late, and not only evicted them, but kept their deposit, claiming breach of contract. That incident caused outrage, but no one could intervene or get the money back. Mrs. Tom acted arrogantly, saying if this person didn't rent, someone else would. There was no shortage of people here.
In the middle of the party, when everyone was slightly tipsy, Mrs. Tom squinted at Mr. Hung. "Hung, now that you've reopened that row, are you planning to undercut prices to steal my customers?" If it were someone else, one might think they were joking, but Mrs. Tom's words held a hint of seriousness. Hearing this, Mr. Hung smiled and said, "Sister Tom, don't tease me like that. Everyone knows your boarding house is large and has many rooms. Tenants are flocking in. If one leaves, another signs a contract immediately. My scale this time is larger than before, up to 12 rooms, but generally it can't compare to yours." "Is that so? But I heard rumors that you plan to use cheap prices to attract tenants." "Heavens, who is so malicious? I tell you, after my wife and I calculated the costs and market prices, we set the rent at 2 million VND a month. Usually, 2 to 3 people stay in a room, paying for their own electricity and water. How is that undercutting? Is that cheap? Workers here earn only 7 to 8 million a month. If I charge higher, how will they live?" Mrs. Tom still showed a disdainful attitude. "I just heard rumors, so I'm retelling them. I didn't start them. But if you charge 2 million, it's still cheaper than mine. My cheapest room is 2.5 million a month, excluding electricity and water. Plus, I see you installed air conditioners. How can you compete?" "No way, sister. Even if I discount, I only have a fixed number of rooms. It's not like selling vegetables or candy where you can sell as much as you want. Don't listen to those words and cause misunderstandings. I invite you for a drink." Seeing that everyone at the table was looking at her and Mr. Hung's attitude was always gentle, Mrs. Tom had no excuse to continue her sarcasm. But it didn't take long for her to speak up again. "By the way, are you planning to rent out that room?" "Which room, sister?" "You're still pretending. Everyone here knows your boarding house had a tragedy. Has the soul of that girl Mai moved on yet? Sometimes she still lingers there." Madam Bai now interjected, "Watch your mouth. Just because no one says anything doesn't mean you can say whatever you want. The past is past." "Oh my, I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you picking a fight with me?" "I'm not picking a fight. You are picking a fight. People come here to celebrate with Mr. Hung's couple. I've been watching you from the beginning, scrutinizing and making sarcastic remarks, and now you drag up that unfortunate past event. If you keep being so mean-spirited, who will dare to socialize with you?" "You old woman, I'm not talking to you. Why are you attacking me?" Seeing the atmosphere becoming tense, Mrs. Lan intervened. "Please, Sister Bai, everyone calm down. This isn't too serious. I think Sister Tom is just worried and giving suggestions." "That's right, Lan is right. I'm Hung's cousin. I'm afraid of bad rumors, so I told the couple to find a way to handle it. If I knew my good intentions would be taken this way, I wouldn't have bothered." "We know your good intentions, Sister Tom. Let it go. Raise your glasses. Drink up. Let's continue playing. Tonight, no one leaves until they're drunk." Mrs. Tom shook her head. "I'm in no mood to party anymore. I'm going home. It's annoying." Ignoring the calls to stay, Mrs. Tom stood up and walked out. Madam Bai said, "Let that woman go wherever she wants. She's been annoying since earlier. Mr. Hung, you are very patient. If it were someone else—" Mr. Hung waved his hand. "Her face looks grumpy and she speaks rudely, but her heart isn't bad. Let's drink." The party continued. Without Mrs. Tom, the atmosphere was much happier. Mr. Hung even hired a mobile karaoke speaker, so everyone sang and toasted each other. Around 10 p.m., Madam Bai stood up to leave. Her eyes unconsciously looked toward the corridor at the end of the row. Although there were no tenants yet, Mr. Hung left all the doors open and lights on, except for the last room, which was still locked tight. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew from somewhere, making her spine go cold. She shuddered, but the feeling passed quickly. She turned and left Mr. Hung's boarding house. To clarify the layout, the whole area was divided into two parts. The first part was the two-story house of Mr. Hung and Mrs. Lan on the left. After passing the main gate was the house and parking area. Going through the yard, the row of boarding rooms ran long to the back, with 6 rooms on each side. Excluding the last room, there were 11 rooms waiting for tenants. Perhaps because of his sincerity and kindness, just a few days after posting the rental notice, quite a few people came to see the rooms. By the end of the next week, all 11 rooms were rented out. This afternoon, Mrs. Lan went to the refreshment shop to hang out and boasted to her neighbor. Madam Bai heard and was happy for her friend. Suddenly, remembering something, she added, "Mrs. Lan, about the matchmaking for Tuan the other day, I found a suitable match." "Really? What's her name? Whose daughter is she?" "Her name is Hung. She's a niece on my mother's side, a distant relative, but she lives in Phuk Tu town, just over 5 kilometers from our town. Her family is well educated. The girl just graduated from the University of Agriculture and Forestry and came back to help her family sell fertilizer and animal feed. Also, she is very pretty. Many people are pursuing her, but her family wants to find a decent place. I think she and Tuan would be a good match." "I haven't seen Tuan all day to tell him. I almost forgot." "Ah, Tuan, don't mention him. At the beginning of the week, he said he went to the city to attend a birthday for a university classmate, but he hasn't come back." "Heavens, is he that playful? That's why I'm so worried. I just hope he gets married soon. If he keeps acting like this, sooner or later trouble will arise. If you meet him, don't mention the matchmaking yet.
Let my husband and I mentally prepare him slowly. If you rush it, he'll find a way to avoid it. All right, don't worry, I know. Just then, a person walked in from the gate. Madam Bai stood up and greeted. Would you like a drink? Come in and sit down to cool off. It's midday and hot. Walking outside might make you sick. The stranger was a young man, seeming mature, around 27 or 28 years old. However, he clutched a backpack tightly and didn't step fully inside. There was a large tear on his trouser leg, revealing a patch of skin oozing blood. Heavens, what happened to you? Were you in a fight? No, ma'am. I want to ask for directions to the police station. The police station? It's about 1 kilometer away. Is it serious? I have a phone. If it's urgent, you can call and the officers will be here quickly. That would be great. I want to report a robbery. What did you say? Robbery in broad daylight?
Yes, ma'am. Just now when I got off the bus, a motorbike taxi driver approached me. Thinking it would be cheap, I agreed. But the more we went, the more he took me to a deserted road. I started to get suspicious and told him to let me off. After arguing, he stopped, but while I was getting money to pay, he snatched the bag on my hip. Inside were my wallet, phone, and identification papers. I tried to snatch it back, but was pushed down to the road. He even pulled out a knife and threatened to kill me. Terrified, I ran back to the main road and screamed for help. By the time some kind people arrived, he had driven away. I only remember the license plate. Now I plan to report it to the police to get my money and papers back. There are important documents on the phone, too. Heavens, what a turbulent time. Stay here. Wait a moment. I'll call the police. Yes, thank you very much. But when the police arrived, they only recorded the information and promised to investigate. Madam Bai knew there had been a few similar cases here. The common point was that the culprits were never found because these robbers operated methodically, planned ahead, and even used fake license plates. Unless caught red-handed, it was very difficult to find them, so property recovery was practically impossible. During their conversation, Madam Bai learned the young man's name was Ving from the central region. Ving had been unemployed for several months when he heard a factory in the nearby industrial zone was recruiting staff matching his major and skills, so he submitted an application. Very quickly, his file was approved by the director and HR department. Tomorrow, he would report for work. Before coming, he had researched and found a rental room at Mrs. Tom's place. But based on his current situation, how could Mrs. Tom rent to him? This thought was completely accurate when Mrs. Lon tried calling her sister-in-law. After explaining Ving's situation and asking to let him take the room temporarily until the end of the month when he could get an advance on his salary to pay, Mrs. Tom immediately refused. If you're so kind, you rent to him. Why call me? My money is meant to run, not sit still. I've seen this trick many times. Watch out or you'll be scammed. The call ended. Mrs. Lon sighed. Madam Bai was curious. Did that woman let Ving take the room? No. Ving seemed devastated. He sat clutching his head, muttering about his fate. He was in a dilemma. He couldn't leave and he couldn't stay. Suddenly, Mrs. Lon turned to him. Do you want to rent a room? My boarding house still has one empty room. Yes, I do. Tomorrow I go to accept the job, but now I have nowhere to live. With my appearance like this, who would want to hire me? Please let me stay temporarily. I don't need to pay until the end of the month. A few days after the probation period, I'll ask for an advance and send you the money. That's not important. The main thing now is to have a place for you to shelter. Our ancestors said, settle down to thrive. You must have a stable place to live, to work, and earn money. Thank you so much. Sit here and rest. I'll go back and clean up a bit, then I'll tell you to come over. Yes, ma'am. Just as Mrs. Lon was about to leave, Madam Bai hurriedly stepped out. Sister Lon, didn't you say all the rooms were full? But there's still the room at the end of the row. Heavens, that room? I didn't intend to rent it out either, but Ving's situation is pitiful. Now I'm going back mainly to talk to my husband to see if he agrees, and also tell Ving about what happened in that room. If he accepts, I'll rent it to him, not deceive him for profit. I didn't mean you were deceiving him. I'm just afraid the room isn't livable. It's fine. I think it's normal now.
Besides, I've been paying attention and asking around the past few days, and the tenants nearby say they haven't seen anything. Let me go ask my husband first. You stay here and talk to Ving. I know. Mrs. Lon finished speaking and walked back home. About half an hour later, she returned. How is it, Sister Lon? My husband said it's okay to stay, but I don't know if Ving has any. Don't worry about this. Rest assured. He probably doesn't believe in spiritual ghost stories. Surprised, Mrs. Lon asked, "Oh, why do you say that?" Madam Bai chuckled. "Earlier when you went home, I talked to Ving and told him about the incident that year to let him know in advance. Now he has time to think, but he said he's not afraid of ghosts. He doesn't believe ghosts exist in this world," Ving chimed in. "Yes, Mrs. Lon doesn't know, but in my hometown, my house was right next to a cemetery. My whole childhood was spent herding buffaloes and cows inside there, taking fruits people offered, playing around, and sometimes even sleeping on people's graves. Yet I never saw a ghost. So now if you let me rent and don't even take money up front, I'd be crazy to refuse." Hearing this, Mrs. Lon sighed. "If you say so, I feel reassured. Actually, I want to help, but I'm also afraid to affect you. If you think like that, just stay. Now is the 15th, more than half the month gone. Just stay until the end of the month. I won't charge you. Starting next month, I'll calculate rent as usual. The room currently doesn't have air conditioning. If you want it installed, I'll call a worker. The rental cost will be the same as other rooms." "Yes, ma'am. Also, since the room hasn't been repaired or swept for a long time, come with me now to clean up the dust. You can't live in it right away. From the beginning, I didn't intend to rent that house out. It's simple. You just leave it there. I'll borrow a rag, a broom, and a basin of clean water. Now follow me. Goodbye, Sister Bai. I'm going back. Yes, go ahead." Like that, Mrs. Lon walked ahead, leading Ving. Madam Bai watched them, sighing and muttering. "Hope everything goes smoothly and nothing happens." It got a bit darker. By this time, the room at the end of the row had been cleaned thoroughly by Ving. Mrs. Lon came to check, but perhaps due to memories of the terrible days in the past, she was still a bit hesitant. "How is it? Is everything okay?" "Yes, it's fine. Even better than I expected. If you see it that way, good. Remember what I said. If you feel you can't stay, just say so, and I will help ask around at nearby rental places. Maybe if there are many vacancies, they will accommodate you." "It's okay. The room is good. And if there really is a ghost sharing my room with me, fine. I'll make them split the rent every month. Nothing to worry about." Ving's half-joking, half-serious remark left Mrs. Lon unsure whether to be sad or happy. But at least the fact that the room was lit up and rented out somewhat lessened the gloomy atmosphere, especially in that corner at the end of the row. Not stopping there, Mr. Hung walked over, holding a bag of cotton and red antiseptic. "Here, take this and bandage the wound. It's scraped. Don't be subjective. If it gets infected, it'll be troublesome." "Yes, thank you both so much. You really are too kind. I didn't expect to find help from both of you in my time of need." "It's nothing. Don't be too pessimistic. I see you are a decent, hard-working person. Just looking at how you swept and cleaned the room, I believe it. Soon you will stabilize your job and finances."
"Yes, sir. Also, later, come into the house and have dinner with my wife and me." "Oh, how can I do that? What's the matter? I heard my wife say you were robbed of all your money and phone. Luckily, you still have the backpack with clothes. Now, if you don't eat with us tonight, what will you put in your stomach?" "I plan to borrow a phone later and call an acquaintance back home to send some pocket money until the end of the month. When I get my salary, I'll pay it back. Save that for spending. Just consider tonight as my wife and I inviting a guest to dinner. I really don't know what to say to thank you both. No need. It's just a meal. So while we cook and clean up, you go shower and treat your wound." "Yes, I know." The conversation ended, and Mr. Hung and Mrs. Lon returned to their house. Upon entering, Mrs. Lon turned and said to her husband, "Dear, do you think everything is okay? I still feel a creeping sensation every time I go near that room." "Come on, don't overthink it. I see nothing to fear. That case was long ago, and Mai's death had nothing to do with us." "Well, let's see. If Vin can live there peacefully, we won't need to fear people's rumors anymore." Time passed until about 6 p.m. Mr. Hung and Mrs. Lon were waiting at the dinner table.
Just then, Vin walked in from the outside. He politely left his sandals neatly arranged and wiped his feet thoroughly on the mat before stepping in. "Hello, Uncle and Aunt. Vin, come sit here." Seeing the meal on the table somewhat lavish with meat, fish, soup, and a plate of fruit for dessert, Vin couldn't help but marvel. "So many dishes, you make me shy." "You're at it again. What's there to be shy about? This is just a normal family meal. Eat naturally. A young man's strength, I know, eats no less than 3 bowls. If you eat less than that, you're disrespecting us." "Oh my, to be honest, I am quite hungry because I haven't eaten anything since morning due to the car ride and then getting robbed upon arrival." So, after a moment of hesitation, he began to eat quite naturally. During the meal, Mr. Hung asked more about Vin's family background. Vin revealed that back home he only lived with a relative because both his parents died in a traffic accident when he was 10. After the family tragedy, Vin tried hard to study and graduated from a technical intermediate school. Previously, he worked for an acquaintance's facility specializing in checking and maintaining mechanical machinery. However, Vin was unlucky when this acquaintance went bankrupt due to a gambling addiction, so he became unemployed, or rather looking for a job with a worthy salary. Back home, he also did jobs contrary to his expertise, but the wages were meager. After telling his story, Vin asked back, "Aunt Lon, I heard you talk about a son in the family. Is it Tuan? He's 25 this year, younger than you, so just call him younger brother when you meet him. Where is Tuan? Why don't I see him eating with the family?" "Don't mention that boy. He's playful and lazy. He's been in the city for a week. Yesterday I called and told him to come back on the weekend, but now it's Friday. I don't know if he's telling the truth. We decided to stay at this boarding house mainly to give him a job, but now just the two of us bustling around managing it. I don't know whether to be happy or sad. He's young, but look at you, just a few years older and already worried about making a living. Ah, I almost forgot. Uncle Hung, what's the matter? I see the room has only one window, but it's covered by newspaper and cardboard. It feels too confined. If possible, can you let me remove all those cement bags and cardboard coverings to open the door for ventilation?" Vin finished speaking, and Mr. Hung and Mrs. Lon looked at each other. "Why is that? Is there something wrong with that door?" "Ah, no problem. It's just that before I planned to turn it into a storage room, so I covered the entrance like that so no one would look inside." "Oh, so that's it. So can I remove it?" "If you want to remove it, go ahead. The items inside are still usable. If anything is damaged, just say so, and I'll call a worker to fix it. If it's too broken, I'll replace it." "Yes, I know. But I don't need much furniture. Just a bed for belongings and books is enough." "Wow, you like reading too? That's a bit strange for someone working in mechanics." I say reading to sound fancy, but mostly is Chinese novels. I have the complete set of Journey to the West and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Whenever I have free time, I take them out to read. All good titles. When you have free, lend me to read them. Yes, of course. If you're interested, just tell me. The conversation quickly shifted to another topic as Mr. Hung looked at the TV broadcasting the news. They chatted until past 8 p.m. when Vin asked to leave to rest because tomorrow morning he had to go to the factory to meet the manager to accept the job. Before leaving, he was given a bag of fruit by Mrs. Lon. "Take this back to your room to eat. Here, the two of us can't finish what people give us. I often share it with the tenants. Just take it and use it. Don't hesitate." "Yes, thank you." Waiting for Vin to leave, Mrs. Lon looked at his back and sighed. Time passed until nearly midnight. By this time, the whole boarding rod began to rest. Mrs. Lon stood upstairs looking down at the yard and the row of rooms opposite. Of course, she also looked towards the room where Vin was staying. The sealed window had been stripped of all the pasted newspaper, letting light shine out from inside.
However, even knowing Ving was inside, Mrs. Lon still felt uncomfortable. Just then, Mr. Hung called from behind. "Hey, what are you doing standing on the balcony? It's late. Come in and rest." Startled, she turned back to the bed. After lying down, she murmured, "Namo Amitabha Buddha." Time passed until the next afternoon.
Mrs. Lan was sitting under the porch picking vegetables. This was also the time when tenants got off work and trickled back. Everyone passing by stopped their bikes to wave, smile, and greet the kind landlady. But she noticed it was getting darker and Ving still hadn't returned. Strange, why hasn't that boy come back yet? I don't know how things went at the factory, whether he got the job or not. And when the clock hand pointed to 6 o'clock, Ving's figure appeared. Mrs. Lan immediately called out, "Ving, you're back?" "Yes, I'm back." "How was the work? Everything okay?" "Yes, I spent half an hour demonstrating my ability. Checking machines and systems like that takes me no time at all. The manager was very satisfied." "I saw it was late and you hadn't returned. I was afraid something happened." "Ah, this is because after work, I had to ask a new colleague to receive the money I borrowed from home, then go to the ATM to withdraw it. After withdrawing, this person was busy and had to leave. I didn't dare take a motorbike taxi again, so I had to walk." "Heavens, so from tomorrow on will you still walk to work?" "I don't know. I'll figure it out as I go. Temporarily walk for a few days, get an advance on salary, then buy a bicycle. Yesterday, when I still had money, I planned to buy an old motorbike, but now beggars can't be choosers." "A bicycle? You don't need to buy one. I'll lend you one. There's still a bicycle in the house that my son Tuan used in high school. Because it's a good brand, it's still like new after nearly 10 years. Now, to be safe, you just need to change the tires and you can ride it." "That would be great. Thank you." "It's nothing. My husband told me to sell it long ago, but I kept it as a souvenir. Now lending it to you is not a waste. Yes, I will definitely use and keep it carefully. Now I'm going back to wash up and go out to find something to eat. Now that I have money, I won't bother you two anymore." "What bother? Having you is just adding a bowl and chopsticks. But fine, go out and eat to feel natural. Whenever you need something, trouble us again." "That works. By the way, I want to ask, did you sleep well last night?" "Yes, very comfortable. Yesterday, when I hadn't been accepted for the job, I didn't dare say it, but now, generally, everything is fine. While I'm at it, I want to ask you to call a worker to install the air conditioner for me tomorrow. The room at the end of the row is so hot. It's a bit stuffy." "The air conditioner? That's simple. Tomorrow afternoon, when you get off work, there will be air conditioning to use." "That's great. Thank you." Saying this, Ving sauntered towards his room. What he just said made Mrs. Lan feel reassured and relieved. Since the afternoon, not seeing Ving and not knowing how his sleep was last night, she had been restless. But Mrs. Lan didn't know this peace wouldn't last long. More than a week had passed. Mrs. Lan had gotten used to the boarding house business. Somehow, every day, at least 2 or 3 people came to ask for rent. She told them the rooms were full, and these people would leave their phone numbers asking her to call when someone moved out. But until now, she hadn't seen anyone intending to check out, at least until before noon today. Mrs. Lan had just finished cooking lunch. Today, an acquaintance had a party, so Tuan and Mr. Hung went to attend. She was home alone. Eating alone was boring. She stepped out under the porch to see if anyone hadn't cooked yet to invite them to eat together. Looking around, besides the rooms where people went to work all day, about 3 or 4 rooms were still open. "Has anyone cooked yet? Anyone here? Come in here and eat with me. After eating, help wash the dishes. That's enough." "Wow, Aunt Lan." This was not the first time Cook and Hui were invited to eat by Mrs. Lan, so the 2 girls acted very naturally. A moment later, the 3 gathered around the hot rice tray. Cook looked at the plate of fried spring rolls and exclaimed, "Heavens, Aunt Lan fries spring rolls so skillfully. My dad loves this dish, but every time I buy them to fry, they burn black. Just like Hui said the other day, I made shadow spring rolls." Mrs. Lan chuckled. "Why are you girls so clumsy? Frying this roll isn't hard. Just use plenty of oil and moderate heat. Otherwise, the outside burns while the inside is raw." That must be the situation. Someday when I'm free, I have to come to take a cooking course from Aunt Lan. "Why learn? My son Tuan is still single. Why don't you try asking Aunt Lan to be her daughter-in-law? Then you can cook freely." "Oh my, you joke too much.
Brother Tuan is handsome, his family is wealthy, he must marry someone of equal status. How can a worker like me be worthy?" "Girl, why say not worthy?" Mrs. Lon muttered, interrupting. "Whatever job it is, as long as you earn honest money and don't break the law, that's fine. That's what Aunt Lon says." "So, now, Aunt Lon, are you accepting Cook as a daughter-in-law?" Mrs. Lon laughed. "Don't ask me about this. The person who decides is Tuan. If he loves someone or brings a lover home to marry, his father and I won't criticize anything." "Oh well, just joking for fun. I know Brother Tuan's personality. Since renting here, I've probably met him a handful of times, and every time he acts very cold. You two sympathize with his personality. He's like the Thunderlord. Come on, eat before it gets cold. It's nearly 12 p.m. Rest after eating to go to work." "Yes, ma'am." While eating for a while, suddenly remembering something, Hui turned to ask Mrs. Lon, "Aunt Lon, about the person renting the room at the end of the row, I don't know if there's any hidden grievance, but every night I hear crying." "Huh? Ving's room? Why is he crying?" "It's not that guy Ving renting it. I hear a woman's voice crying." "What did you say? What woman crying?" "I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, ask Cook. Our room is next door. Around midnight we hear sobbing coming from there. It sounds heartbreaking. We guessed maybe this guy had a conflict with his lover or wife, but leaving it like that isn't okay. So I came to ask you and ask you to inquire. Even if they argue or cry, don't let it affect the neighbors." Mrs. Lon turned to Cook. "Cook, is Hui telling the truth?" "Yes, I intended to tell you too. Since we are female, we don't want to see the weaker sex crying. Not just once or twice, but almost every night they cry. And the night before last, we couldn't take it anymore. Plus, we were curious, so both of us walked over and knocked on the door to talk. If the poor girl was being abused, we would stand up to demand justice. But as soon as we knocked, the crying stopped. I called out, but no one answered. We waited a little longer, but nothing happened, so we went back to our room, disappointed. I think only an adult can intervene. Please talk to them. We work all day and tired, just want sleep."
I know. Leave it there. I'll handle it." Saying that, Mrs. Lon changed the subject, urging Cook and Wei to eat. But deep down, she knew clearly that only Ving rented that room. But she thought maybe Ving met a girl and brought her to live together. Usually, I don't have the habit of checking the camera every day to see people coming and going. Let's wait for him to come back and ask. So that afternoon, Mrs. Lon pulled a chair and sat under the porch to wait. Around 6 p.m., Ving leisurely pedaled the bicycle back. He looked very cheerful and happy, even whistling non-stop. Seeing him, Mrs. Lon called out, "Ving!" Ving responded, "Yes, I'm here. What's the matter, Aunt?" "Come here. I want to ask you something." "Yes." "How are things in that room? Is everything okay?" "Yes, good. Only the air conditioner you installed in my room is too good. Every night I set it to 27 or 28 degrees, but it's too cold. In the middle of the night, I have to wake up to turn it off or use an extra blanket." If nothing else, that's good. But the past few days, did you bring a girlfriend to the room?" "Oh, no way, Aunt. Don't deny it. Is it a lover or some other relationship? My boarding house is quite open regarding regulations. I don't forbid friends or lovers. No need to hide." "Oh, I'm telling the truth. I didn't bring anyone home. If you don't believe me, check the camera. Why do you ask? I'm new here. Besides, time at the factory, I just go back to my room to read and rest. Where would I meet a girlfriend to bring home? What you say surprises me. Or did you see me alone and lonely, so you're teasing me?" "No, I heard something." "Ah, nothing. I was just joking for fun. Do you plan to eat or drink anything now? Come in and eat rice." "No thanks. Just now on the way back, I bought dumplings. They smelled so good I bought 2. I'll take a rain check on the meal. I'll come over to bother you another time." If you're free, just come over." The conversation ended abruptly. Ving sauntered towards his boarding room, while Mrs. Lon muttered, "At noon, the way Cook and Hui spoke didn't seem like lying." But Ving denied it even stronger.
Later, while eating dinner, Mr. Hung noticed his wife looked strange, so he asked, "What's wrong with you? Your face is so long." "I'm fine, just something strange." "What is it?" Mrs. Lon put down her rice bowl and began to tell the story. After hearing it, Mr. Hung asked, "Did you check the camera footage?" "Just now, when Tuan came back from hanging out, I told him to open it. It's true that Ving didn't bring anyone home." "That's strange, dear." "Or maybe, hey, I know what you're going to say, but no, don't scare yourself." "No, it's just that I see the master said there was nothing." "Stop it. Just let me see. If indeed Ving can stay there peacefully, we don't need to fear people's rumors." Just then, Tuan walked down from the stairs. "Dad, lend me a few hundred." "Earlier your mother asked if you were hungry. You said no. Now you're going somewhere?" "A friend is organizing a birthday party today. He came to mind last time. Now I have to go." "Give me a few hundred to buy a gift and fill up gas." "You... always birthdays, weddings, parties. Your mother and I brought you back here to focus on doing business. Stay away from drinking and vices. Since you came back, you go out even more. I don't know what we did for you to wake up, son. Speaking of which, drinking and getting drunk is dangerous. What if something happens? Dad, you always curse me. Asking for a few pennies and you lecture me? Fine, I won't ask. Hey, father and son, each say one word less. Tuan, don't be rude to your father. He just wants what's best for you. Now, if you want to go, fine. But coming up, maybe this weekend, you have to go with Mom for a matchmaking meeting. There's a connection Aunt Bay introduced. If you refuse, consider us banning you from leaving the house. Truly annoying. Matchmaking again? Fine, I'll see her. But now I won't ask Dad. Mom, give me a few hundred to spend, okay? Here, leave it there. Saying that, Mrs. Lon stood up and walked to the living room. After taking her wallet, she put 500,000 VND into her son's hand. Take it. Remember what you promised me. Remember, rest assured. Bye, Mother Queen. Wishing Mother Queen a good meal. Finishing his sentence, Tuan whistled and walked out, jumped on his scooter and zoomed off without even bothering to wear a helmet. When Mrs. Lon returned to the dining table, Mr. Hung leered at his wife. You, just as the ancients said, spoiled children are the mother's fault. Spoiled grandchildren are the grandmother's fault. Keep spoiling him like that, how can he not be bad? Stop it. Just don't look up, look down. Our Tuan isn't that bad. But back to the earlier topic, dear. If my soul really hasn't moved on, we shouldn't let that room be rented. We must close it and make more offerings. Wait, don't make a big deal about it, or you'll alert the tenants and rumors will spread tenfold. We stumbled once, let's not follow that track again. I know, but surely I will go to the temple to light incense and pray for peace, and also get a fortune reading to see how it is. Do whatever you want, as long as you don't make noise. Although Mrs. Lon said that, she felt very uncomfortable inside. A moment later, around late at night, she tried walking alone along the corridor to Ving's room. Standing outside, separated by a door, she still heard regular snoring. The window inside had been closed. After waiting for about 10 more minutes and seeing nothing strange, Mrs. Lon turned back home. Upon arriving, she muttered to reassure herself, maybe Kook and Hui watched too many movies and hallucinated. If my soul was really in that room, how could Ving live and sleep normally? However, she didn't get much comfort. At midnight, the couple was woken by the phone ringing. Mr. Hung seemed quite annoyed. Realizing the caller was Tuan, he didn't even bother to answer. That prodigal son again. Calling at this hour, surely he drank too much, ran out of money, and can't pay the bill, so he's calling us. Don't answer his call. Mrs. Lon was half asleep, but by the third call she felt impatient, so she went against her husband's wishes and picked up. Hello? Mom here. Come home, son. Don't play around and cause trouble anymore. But before she could finish, her eyes widened, and she even dropped the phone on the bed. What is it? Honey, truly, Tuan had an accident.
Needless to say, Mr. Hung snapped, "I told you so." Heavens, this boy! When will he stop making us suffer? How is he? Who called? Faced with her husband's questions, Mrs. Lawn snapped out of it. She picked up the phone and asked for a while, then they learned Tuan had crashed on his own while driving home. Luckily, there were no cars behind him, or it would have been dangerous. Generally, Tuan had no serious bone issues, just scratches on the spot. But because he wasn't wearing a helmet, the doctor required him to stay for observation. At that time, Tuan was still drunk and acting up, so the doctor had to use his phone to call home.
Over 1 a.m., Mr. Hung and his wife entered the emergency area of the town hospital. Upon asking, they learned Tuan had been moved to a regular room. They rushed to the back. Seeing her son, Mrs. Lan rushed over, her eyes red. "Heavens, Tuan! Are you okay, son?" Mr. Hung was stricter, glaring. "This guy, why didn't you break your arms and legs so I could have peace?" "Oh my, honey, why say that to him? It's a blessing he's not seriously hurt." "Blessing? What blessing? I have to teach him a lesson." "Don't be loud here. Keep quiet for the patients to rest. Go home and close the door to scold each other. Earlier, the nurse told me to complete the admission procedure for him for the night. You go out and finish it. Advance the hospital fees for them." Mr. Hung didn't reply. Before leaving, he glared once more. When only mother and son were left, Mrs. Lan muttered, "Are you okay? Does it hurt anywhere? If you feel chest tightness, difficulty breathing, or headache, tell the doctor immediately to intervene. Driving like that, do you know how worried I was?" Tuan muttered, "Damn it! If not for that text message, I would never have lost focus and lost control of the steering wheel." "What text message?" Facing Mrs. Lan's question, Tuan looked around. "Do you want to see? But don't make a fuss." Mrs. Lan nodded. Tuan opened his phone, scrolled for a while, and pointed the screen towards his mother. "Here, look." Mrs. Lan squinted her eyes, and then she revealed a horrified look. This reaction was understandable, because what she just saw were dozens of text messages repeating the same meaning. Pay with your life. Kill people, pay with your life. "Tuan, what are these messages? Did you harm someone?" "I didn't touch anyone." "Then why these messages? Who is the sender?" "I want to know too. It claims to be Mai." "Mai? Which Mai?" "Which other Mai? The person who years ago Tuan hesitated, but Mrs. Lan quickly understood. In her mind, everything rewound like a movie to the past. On that fateful night 3 years ago, it was true that the young teacher Mai was broken into by the drug addict Phuc, who intended to rob her, but he only tied and gagged her, intending to steal, not kill. While Phuc was committing his act, Tuan happened to see it. At that time, he was home for a few days. Since returning, Tuan had noticed and was attracted by Mai's beauty, but his flirtations failed, and he was even threatened by Mai to tell Mr. Hung and Mrs. Lan. He feared embarrassment, and seeing Phuc left without untying Mai and having used illegal substances that night, Tuan's beastly nature arose. He crept into the room and sexually assaulted the poor girl. However, after satisfying himself, thinking that he could not let Mai live because she was conscious, he did a cruel thing. He used a kitchen knife to kill Mai. This violent, horrific act was partly due to the drugs Tuan used. After killing Mai, Tuan hid the knife and turned to leave, but as soon as he left the room, he froze because he saw his mother. It turned out Mrs. Lan had witnessed her son's actions. Moreover, she knew about Tuan's addiction. Tuan hurriedly ran to beg his mother. He blamed hallucinations from drugs for killing Mai. Mrs. Lan was panicked, shocked, and afraid, but faced with the prospect of Tuan going to jail, perhaps even receiving the death penalty, she didn't have the courage. She told her son to go back to the house, while she stayed to check once more to see if Tuan dropped any incriminating evidence at the scene. When sure everything was clean, Mrs. Lan went out, closing the door as if nothing happened. In the following days, she felt relieved when people assumed Phuc was the culprit, and since that addict died, no one could testify. On the other hand, she forced her son to go to rehab. Initially, Tuan almost didn't come home for half a year because he was in the rehab center. Mr. Hung suspected nothing.
Mrs. Lan hid everything. Sometime later, facing ghostly rumors coming from Mai's soul, Mrs. Lan became more afraid. She feared if the truth came out, everything would be exposed, so she herself spread rumors, causing the family business to fail. Then she persuaded Mr. Hung to move to the city to live with her son. She thought living in the city would start a new life. However, due to many objective problems, this time Mr. Hung decided to bring the whole family back to the country. Mrs. Lan tried to stop him, but Mr. Hung wouldn't listen. Whatever she said, returning in the early days, she showed fear and dread. Every night she tried to close the door tight, not even daring to go near the room at the end of the row. Only until recently, when things calmed down and Ving rented it, did she stop being afraid. Returning to real time, she looked at her son and asked urgently, "Tuan, are these messages really from Mai?" "Of course not. Mai is dead. How can she text? I'm trying to see who is harassing me." "Heavens, even if it's harassment, how would they know you harmed Mai to text like that? Try calling that number." "I did, but the operator said this number doesn't exist." "Heavens, then it's really Mai." "No, Mom, don't always be scared like that. This is why I didn't want to tell you. What era is this to believe in such things? Although I don't know the method to send these texts yet, I paid an acquaintance and sooner or later we'll find out. This guy works in computers. He's very good." "No, no, son, I'm afraid Mai." "I guarantee no. Why do you talk so much?" "Where's the medical record?" Tuan shouted. Just then Mr. Hung returned. "Hey, you rude brat, is that how you talk to your mother?" Mrs. Lan was afraid the two would argue loudly, and Tuan might blurt out something, so she waved her hand and interrupted. "Nothing. I accidentally touched his wound, so he got angry. Did you finish the paperwork?" "I did. No need to stay and watch him. Nurses and doctors will take care of it. You and I are going home." "Leaving him here alone with the nurses, is it okay? Plus, leaving him alone isn't good." "Yes, I want him to reflect on what he caused. Also, from now on, you are banned from going out to play or drink at night. If you disobey, I'll break your legs. I've tolerated you for too long." "Fine, fine, I know you're mad at me. Let's go home and leave him." "Tuan, stay here. Mom and Dad are going first." "Yes, go ahead." It took a while longer for Mr. Hung to leave. On the way home, despite her husband sitting in front rambling about punishments for their son, Mrs. Lan worried endlessly. She told herself this couldn't go on. Tomorrow morning she must find a sorcerer, find someone with high power, and ask him to come check. If Mai really hasn't moved on, strong measures must be used. She couldn't leave it like this. She only had Tuan as a son. If anything happened to him, how could she live? When she got home, Mrs. Lan was still restless. She stood on the balcony looking down at the room at the end of the row. It was now closed tight. 7 a.m. After cooking breakfast, using the excuse of going to the market, Mrs. Lan hurried to find Master Duk, a sorcerer rumored to have high powers. Years ago, she also asked another sorcerer, but heard that person fell ill and died after a while, so this was the first time she sought Master Duk for spiritual help.
Arriving and explaining briefly, he immediately held up 5 fingers. Mrs. Lan was curious. "What is it, Master?" "Offering money. I tell you, if it's true as you say, that girl hasn't moved on for 3 years, and the resentment is heavy. This is not simple. It's very likely she became a demon, not just a wandering soul." "Heavens, a demon? That sounds scary, Master." "I'm telling the truth." "So is there a way, Master?" "There is a way, but I said catching a ghost is easier than catching a demon. If the labor cost is 1 coin, catching a demon costs 10 coins. Usually, helping people perform an exorcism is 50 million, but in your case, multiply by 10, it's 500 million. "Right, you calculate fast. But Master, let me think about it. This money is quite large for me. Besides, I'm doing this behind my husband's back, so I can't use such a large amount." "If so, you probably have to find someone else. I can't help. This money is offering money to the higher powers, not from me alone." "I understand. Or give me a week to prepare, okay? Please keep the schedule for me. Rest assured, as soon as you pay enough, I'll help." Leaving Master Duck's house, on the way back, Mrs. Land stopped by some friends to borrow money. Everything seemed quite smooth as she finally managed to gather it, but she had to write a loan note with monthly interest of $10 million. Actually, Mrs. Land didn't have a plan to repay this debt yet, but for now, the priority was to handle the ritual. When she returned home, she saw Ving cycling back with a smile and whistling cheerfully, but now she was a bit panicked. She called out, "Ving!" Ving replied, "Ah, yes, I'm here. How is living in that room? Everything okay?" "Yes, good. Only the air conditioner you installed in my room is too good. Every night I keep it at 27, 28 degrees, but it's too cold. In the middle of the night I have to wake up to turn it off or use an extra blanket." "Ugh, nothing is good then. Maybe in a few days I'll call a worker to repair and add more insulation, so keep the key here for those days, okay? Rest assured, nothing will be lost. I have nothing to lose, just books and personal items. Just let me know in advance. Before going to work, I'll bring the key over." "Ah, I know." The conversation ended briefly. Inside the house, Mrs. Land was surprised to see her son sitting in the living room. "Heavens, Tuan, why are you back?" Facing his mother's question, Tuan replied calmly, "After the tests showed no problems, they let me go." "Really? Or are you hurting somewhere and hiding it? That's not okay." "I'm not crazy. Where's your dad?" "I don't know. Earlier I saw him at home, but after taking a phone call, he went somewhere, looking very hurried. Just sit there and play. I'll go inside to prepare food." Time passed until 3 days later. Today was the day Mrs. Land brought Master Duck to perform the ritual. Looking at the 500 million VND given to him, she felt regretful, but thinking of her son being sought for revenge by Mai, she couldn't bear it. Exactly at 9 a.m., the two were present at the boarding house. At this time, only Mrs. Land and Master Duck were there. The tenants had gone to work. Tuan went for coffee with friends this morning, and Mr. Hung said he had business outside and would return in the evening. This was better. Mrs. Land could comfortably perform the ritual without fearing curiosity.
A moment later, when the altar was set up, Master Duck lit incense and began chanting. Mrs. Lan stood next to him, clasping her hands and muttering, "Namo Amitabha Buddha." And then, 10 minutes later, Master Duck turned. Ultimately, why did that girl die with such heavy resentment? It's not simple. I told you, the girl was broken into by a drug addict who raped and killed her for robbery. Is that true? I am about to perform the most important part of the ceremony. If you don't clearly state the cause or the grievance in Mai's death, what I do will have no effect. Why must I say it, Master? Of course, you must say it so I know how to suppress it. Tell me the truth. This matter... Fine, I'll tell, but don't reveal it. It's very serious and affects my son. Of course, I practice this profession. I dare not reveal customer information. Mrs. Lan nodded. Then she recounted everything, from Tun's criminal acts to her covering up the crime. She thought honesty would help the master's ceremony go smoothly. But no. Just as she finished telling, about 2 minutes later, 2 figures appeared from outside. Seeing these 2 people, Mrs. Lan was completely stunned, because the first person walking in was Mr. Hung, her husband, followed by Ving. Why are you back? And Ving? What are you doing? I'm making offerings for peace of mind. I'm afraid Mai hasn't moved on, so I'm holding a requiem. Really? Or are you performing a suppression ritual? What are you saying? I'm not. Don't deny it. I know everything. You saying that is finished. At this point, Mr. Hung recounted the story.
On the first day when Ving came to rent the room, although outwardly appearing unconcerned, Mr. Hung paid attention and realized a tall, fair person with hands without calluses could not be someone working with heavy machinery. So the next day, Mr. Hung secretly met Ving to talk. Ving didn't hide it and revealed that he indeed didn't come here to rent a room for work, but it was all part of a plan to clear the name of his girlfriend, Mai, the young teacher who died in the tragedy 3 years ago. At that time, Ving and Mai met online for over a month and planned to meet and introduce their families, but unexpectedly, bad news struck. Ving came to help with the funeral, and in his dreams he believed Mai appeared to cry injustice, saying she was killed by someone else, but she couldn't say it, fearing violating heaven's laws. After the 49 days, Ving no longer dreamed of Mai, but that dream still haunted him. He went to the place to find out, but Mr. Hung and Mrs. Lon were quite wary of contacting strangers at that time. The two also moved to another place, so Ving didn't have a chance to investigate. Just when he thought he ran out of opportunities, suddenly Ving heard news that Mr. Hung and Tun returned to the country and reopened the boarding house, so he planned to approach. The reason Ving told the truth to Mr. Hung was that he trusted Mr. Hung was an upright person, and Ving also always said he suspected Tun and Mrs. Lon were involved. Initially, upon hearing this, Mr. Hung shook his head firmly, saying it was a misunderstanding because the police investigated thoroughly that year. But facing Ving's determination, Mr. Hung and he made a bet that they would coordinate to clarify whether Mrs. Lon and Tun were involved in Mai's death. Mr. Hung watched his wife and son, and Ving used speakers to play crying sounds to cause panic for the girls in the next room, and the text messages sent to Tun were also done by Ving. Above all, after knowing Mrs. Lon sought Master Duke, Mr. Hung pressured and forced this master to cooperate. Definitely, during the ritual, he had to make Mrs. Lon tell the truth. Now everything was clear. Ving stepped forward, lifted the small table, and took out a voice recorder from inside. Seeing this, Mrs. Lon rushed forward, screaming, "No, give that to me. No, honey, you must break that machine. Don't let it harm our son." Mr. Hung looked at Mrs. Lon with painful eyes. Just because you love Tun, you led to mistake after mistake. Now I can't protect or cover for you, mother and son, anymore. I beg you, you must save Tun. We only have him. Too late, dear. A moment later, from outside, a group of police officers in uniform appeared following Mr. Hung's report. A few days later, news of Mai's case being reopened to investigate and concluding Tun was the real killer shocked everyone. No one believed their ears. But the truth was the truth. Tun was arrested for murder and drug use. Mrs. Lon was charged with complicity and concealing a criminal. The most suffering person was probably Mr. Hung. After that incident, he closed the boarding house, didn't open it anymore, and even put the house up for sale. No one knew where he went, and the house faced consecutive rumors, with no one knowing if there were really ghosts or not. But that was enough for no one to dare buy it. Just like that, the house became desolate and cold, always with closed gates and high walls. Students even called it the ghost house in the heart of Bing-An town.
Thank you very much, dear listeners, for tuning in. Goodbye for now, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next stories.